Welcome back to Culture Cast, episode 10. Thank you, Dom, for showing up. Lot of FIBA. The tournament has officially started. We are getting into the thick of it. Week one has officially ended, and we are into week two. Games have begun for week two, and it's about halfway through. We're not going to talk about week two until next weekend once everything's concluded, so that we're not kind of just doing halves of everything. That's kind of a little bit annoying to do for you guys and just in general. So week one, ton of games. We wanted to start with James Harden getting fined $100,000, which in the grand scheme of things is not much, but for NBA players, that's one of the biggest fines ever, surprisingly. And then we wanted to briefly talk about Shams Charania reporting that the Celtics are meeting with TJ Warren and Lamar Stevens as potential free agent additions. This isn't too big of a topic league-wide. However, those two guys have kind of been mainstays on the channel. We've talked about them a lot. So wanted to briefly go into that because losing Marcus Smart, getting someone like Lamar Stevens is kind of a big addition for a team like the Celtics, and getting some more scoring punch from TJ Warren could be a big addition. So let's get started then with James Harden. We talked a lot about him the last 2 weeks. A lot of stuff going on, calling out Daryl Morey as a liar. The whole thing about the contract, just a lot of drama. The players union coming out and saying they're in favor of Harden and they're going to push back against this fine and all the drama within the league about it. And I've made my stance pretty clear. I don't agree with James Harden in this situation. Further thoughts, what do you have going here?
Yeah, man, that's a big fine. 100 grand is a lot of money for a fine. Never, like you mentioned, that's up there. So
Yeah,
that's definitely, I think, kind of going in a direction like trying to not give the players as much power, I guess, in a way. I don't know. I kind of feel that's kind of a really big fine for something like that. But I guess, yeah, we knew he was going to get fined, but I'd be honest, I wasn't expecting that much money. That's kind of a lot. And yeah, like you said, I can see it from both perspectives, but it's still a weird situation that he created. So we're gonna see. I saw they wished him a happy birthday from the official Sixers Twitter account yesterday or something.
gotta keep it professional.
Yep.
Yeah, you said it best right there too. It's a situation that he created. Yeah, again, unless something was unless there was some sort of legal documentation stating we are going to give you X amount of money come the end of the season.
Yeah.
Then it's they're just throwing it out there. Hey, you play well enough, we'll talk about an extension.
Yeah.
And James Harden played well.
Yeah.
As far as playmaking goes, we've talked about it before. He had one of the best playmaking seasons, if not the best playmaking season last year, aside from Trae Young. So as far as assists per game go, but the scoring, as we've said many times, is just nowhere near the same. Yeah. And Philly needs that scoring punch from outside, and he was supposed to be that. It wasn't there. Yeah. So Philly saying, I don't think you've lived up to the value you seek. I can't argue with that. He hasn't. Yeah. James Harden did not drop 25 and 10. If that's what he was doing, you got my money. Yeah. But 20 points on okay efficiency and the improved playmaking. I don't know. That's not the max money you're willing to offer. Especially when you got someone like Tyrese Maxey, who I think with more minutes could give you that potential 23, 24, maybe even more than that as a starting point guard. But yeah, it's just more drama. We'll see what happens with the player union there. That's, to me, this is not the hill to die on. That's the players union. It's he 100% created the situation for himself. I don't who's the head of it? Is it CJ McCollum and what's his name? Grant Williams.
Grant Williams, right? Yeah. It's the new Jaren Jackson too, I believe, or something.
Him as well, yeah.
Yeah.
If I'm them, I'm saying, look, man, you got yourself into this. You could get out of it. We're not doing anything. This is on you. It's like this is the I've got a target on my back, and like you're the one that literally put the target on. It's like I don't really feel too bad here, but
Yeah.
moving on from there, Sham Sharania reporting that the Boston Celtics will be meeting with TJ Warren and Lamar Stevens as potential free agent additions.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about them. What do you see as potential fits there for those guys in Boston should they be signed?
So I was kind of confused because I remember they signed O'Shea Brissett also this offseason. So that's going to be a lot of wings they're going to be having. So I'm guessing
Yeah.
they're running a smaller lineup, maybe running one of these guys at the 4, having Tate. Like it's kind of seems like a really interesting situation with the wings there. And
Yeah.
I mean, like you mentioned, you can never have too many wings that provide those types of skills, such as the defensive versatility that Lamar Stevens provides, the scoring punch that TJ Warren can provide in a playoff game. You have interesting pieces right there that I think could help any team realistically in the league. So I
Yeah.
understand it from their perspective. I just don't know if they have enough minutes to distribute to everyone to where it works, is all I'm saying as of right now. Very solid players. I would
Yeah.
take them on my team 10 out of 10 times any day of the week, but it'll definitely be interesting. They have a lot of depth there already. So adding more, it could be obviously having the best depth is a great thing to have. So you never know. One of the better benches last year, too. So we'll see this year.
Yeah, especially because again, we've talked about it plenty. Like they need that point guard.
Yeah.
They just like Malcolm Brogdon played very well, but they
Very
still
well.
just need that like the point guard depth of playmaking. And
Yeah.
you know, Lamar Stevens is great, but like you said, they already have O'Shea Brissett, who was another signing in. I
Not
mean,
only
those dudes pretty much provide the same thing. I
very much
don't like
similar skill sets. Yeah.
yeah, they're very toolsy kinds of guys. TJ Warren's more so that offensive punch you're talking about. Yeah. And I mean, these are, again, you can never have enough wings.
Yeah.
And, especially for a defense that I imagine wants to switch it all.
Yeah.
Al Horford had a spectacular defensive season last year. Healthy Robert Williams is one of the best shot blockers in the league. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, moving into a more switchable offense or more switchable defense, with a lot of dynamic wings, it makes sense. But again, it's just I keep looking at this and I'm like, man, they need the playmaking
Yeah.
and they're just not getting it.
I don't
I
know if they're
recently
getting.
saw Gilbert Arenas, I think it was Gil, or no, it was Patrick Beverly, talk about
Oh, they're
Jalen
scared. They don't
Brown.
mesh
Yeah,
together.
they just
Yes.
don't match. It's like
Yeah. That's probably
we've
realistically
been
fair.
talking about
Yeah.
this, dude. They
It's been a
just
while,
don't.
man. Yeah.
So I don't know. It looks good, but I think you hit the nail on the head. They might not have enough minutes to distribute all of this. Especially they also signed in the draft the defensive guard,
Yeah.
right?
Out of
I forget his
Arkansas.
name.
The wing out of
Yeah.
Arkansas, Jordan Walsh.
Yeah. Like he looks solid. He's
Very
gonna be
solid.
fighting for minutes.
Yeah.
And I it's a lot. So we'll see how that all shakes out. But I don't think this is going to be one of those years for Boston where it's just like they hit the ground running and it's just
Yeah.
a big start for them. I think this is going to be a lot of time to sort things out, and there's going to be some struggle, some give and take. But
Yeah.
we'll see it. We'll see how it goes. Those are two great players, and if they do end up in Boston or just one of them, hopefully it
Yeah.
works out well. So the meat and potatoes of this podcast episode, FIBA week 1 scores, standouts. We're going to give some kind of fly through descriptions of games. Now, we were only able to get the highlights, condensed game highlights, as well as mini highlights, because again, these like they just happen at times where Americans are asleep. So,
Yeah.
and they're not on channels we've got. So they had one that I'm like 1888 or something like that. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't even get past the 700s at my TV. So, all right. But we had to watch the highlights, and boy, howdy, there was a lot of them.
Yes.
Um, so we'll have some deep, in-depth, or at least further in-depth descriptions of a few of the games that we felt were bigger and more important. Some of these teams, they're here, but I don't think we're really looking at them as serious contenders to win the World Cup.
Yeah.
So we'll kind of fly through them. Some of their opponents had one or two guys we know around the league, and we'll talk about them. But yeah, so we're just going to go in order and start with Finland versus Australia. Australia legging out a big 98-72 victory.
Yeah.
We've talked plenty about Patty Mills, tossing on the green and gold for Australia and just becoming a different animal.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this game, man?
Yeah. So Patty, 25 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, and 4 steals. So this is a guy that coming in before everyone is like, oh, this guy's been washed on the Nets. He has been not a great player. He's not been what they thought they were signing him for. And he completely goes to Australia. And like you said, he becomes a different man. He becomes the first option of that team. We saw this in the 21 Olympics. Guy puts on a show when he puts on the Australia jersey, man. And not to say the rest of this team, lots of NBA talent. You got Giddey, probably the second headliner, I would say, finished with 14, 9, and 8. Pretty good stat sheet filler. You have a few different guys that aren't very well known. I don't know them personally, but they played pretty solid for what I would say. You have Reith is the center. I don't know who he is, Duop Reith, but he played very solid from what I watched. You have Matisse Thybulle, who we all know is a very solid defensive player for the Portland Trail Blazers. You had Ingles, who is 35, I believe, and he looked really good for what he provides, and that's purely shooting, and he did just that. And then you have Dante Exum, very solid game, 10, 2, and 4. Can't complain. And yeah, this is a very deep team that's competing in this tournament. And there's a lot. I think they're probably top 5 to me in the rankings, I'd say, in the power rankings of the FIBA tournament itself. I'd personally say they're a top 5 team.
I'd agree. Yeah. I mean, they got 7 guys in the NBA right now that have I mean, 6 of them have quality jobs as players. Yeah, Patty Mills, man, just a different animal playing in international games. I don't know what it is, but again, we talk so much. It's like, if you think these dudes suck, please, you got to humble yourself.
You got to realize, man, because
when the talent gets a little spread out and it's not so top heavy like in the NBA, a dude like Patty Mills becomes Jesus. So
literally, all great players too. And then it's not even like Finland's a bad team. They literally have an NBA all-star on it. They literally have Markkanen, and guy's a beast. So it just goes to show that these foreign, it's fun to watch the guys play different roles. That's what I always love by watching this. You get to see guys that you don't see in the NBA do certain things. Like we mentioned, Fournier, he turns into a scorer. He's literally such a great scorer when it comes to FIBA. And all the NBA players even mention it. We've never seen you play like this before. When it comes to their country, they play a lot different, I'll say.
Yeah, it's like we saw, like we'll talk about with Clarkson in the Philippines. It's like, a lot of these guys on these teams are like strictly home country guys. We don't hear about them. We don't know them. Yeah. So, when a guy like Jordan Clarkson is there, Jordan Clarkson in the league is one of the best, if not the best, backup in the league. He's starting for the Jazz now with Mike Conley gone and Donovan Mitchell gone, but I'd say he's still like a quality 6-man, one of the best in the league, and a quality starter at this point. But when he's, if he's the number one option, the leading guy for a team with, I get at home, probably solid dudes, but as far as like international play, probably not that great. Jordan Clarkson becomes a demon, that's how it goes. But like you said, Australia went off. Patty Mills leading the way, 25 points. Josh Giddey leading the way in rebounds with 9 of them and leading the assist category with 8 of them. Josh Giddey, we all know, one of the best kind of just hybrid wings / guards in the league. Up and coming dude, really good with the Thunder. Should have a big season. They got a lot of new pieces in OKC and returning guys who have been hurt. Cough, Chet Holmgren. It's gonna be a fun year for Australia or for the Thunder with a guy like Giddey, kind of getting to again re-showcase the skill sets that he has. Going into Finland, like you said, Lauri Markkanen coming off of a most improved player win. First all-star season. We talk about Patty Mills kind of like gets called at this point washed and he's a little too old. And Lauri Markkanen, he went into last season with about as low expectations as you could possibly have.
Very much so.
Dude could never get healthy. Couldn't get healthy with the Bulls. Couldn't get healthy with the Cavs. We all knew he could shoot. But he went to Utah and just turned into Dirk.
creation, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
shot creation, getting to
Yeah.
the rim, some
Yeah.
like better
Sneaky
than expected defense. The
athletic
athleticism is
too.
there, the
Very athletic.
rebounding,
Yes.
all the dude. I swear, dude, if you're European, you know how to pass. I don't know what
Yeah.
it is, but Lario just makes some great
Yeah.
passes. Today or yesterday or 2 days ago, sorry, in this game against Australia, Larry Markkinen led the way for Finland with 19 points. Also led the way in rebounds with 8,
Yeah.
and tied with Miro
Mhm.
Little with 4 assists. So Larry Markkinen, I mean, we all kind of know clearly the best player for Finland right
Oh, yeah.
now. Um, and it's pretty crazy to think that just like a month or two ago, this dude was serving in the Finnish military.
I
So
know.
uh,
So yeah, it's
didn't lose a step.
so random, but yeah, I know.
Yeah. So big game there. You're kind of looking at the team stats. Turnovers were a big thing for Finland. They had 19. It's hard to Warriors fan here. It's hard to win games when you turn the ball over like nearly or more than 20 times. It just is.
Yeah. No,
Kind of
definitely.
a clunk fest too. 6 of 26 from three. They only shot 23%. So not the best game. Australia also just has a lot of like kind of wing like guys. Matisse, obviously, one of the best perimeter defenders in the league. Dante Exum, when he was in the league, one of the best perimeter guard defenders in the league.
Yeah.
Dyson Daniels, same deal. Josh Green, improved defender. You know,
Sure. So
they've got a lot of guys that can guard up. So, good game one there to see. Moving on, we'll kind of fly through Angola versus Italy, 81-67. Italy takes the win here. Leading the way, we had Simone Fontecchio. Dude lives rent free in Warriors fans' heads for sealing the deal in a late game, just disgusting loss in Utah last season. Another one of those off the bench sharpshooter kind of guys, but Fontecchio in this game, those highlights, he was getting to the cup. Kind of has a little bit of uppies on him, was not sitting in the corner or whatever. So interested to see there, more room for him with Utah as, the team kind of just goes younger and younger. So
yeah.
we'll see what happens. It was cool to see Nico Melli out there. My friend's a Pelicans fan, and Nico Melli was quite the meme a few years back when he was really in his prime in New Orleans. So, but yeah, leading the way, Fontecchio, 19 points. Leading the way in rebounds for Italy, Akil Polonara with 7. Leading the way in assists, Marco Svisu with 7. Good game for Italy, kind of, handedly winning this one against Angola.
Yeah.
For Team Angola, Chil Dundao, I hope I pronounced that correctly, led the way with 19 points, with 5 rebounds. Few guys had 5 rebounds. Lionel Paulo, Silvio De Souza, and Kevin Coquila, and Eduardo Francisco, and Bruno Fernando all had 5 rebounds, splitting the category for most rebounds in the game. Leading the way in assists was Jerson Gonçalves with 4. So Angola, they got a big win week 2, but
Yeah.
starting off a little rough, especially with Italy not being the best team, but still kind of solid.
Yeah.
One of the middle of the pack teams. I think they're not bad, but I don't think they're very good.
Yeah.
This was an absolute clunker. You had 13% from 3, 4 of 30 for Angola.
Wow.
And then 16% from 3, 5 of 31 for Team Italy.
Wow.
35% from the field for Angola and only 41.5% for Italy. Really rough game.
Very
15
rough.
turnovers for Angola. On top of that, like we said, just hard to win basketball games when you turn it over a lot and then you shoot 13% from 3. So
Yeah, that's rough.
yeah. Kind of a dud of a game 2 for the World Cup. Getting into game 3, we've got Mexico versus Montenegro. Montenegro has Nikola Vucevic, who's one of the better centers in the league, obviously plays for the Bulls. Talked about him quite a bit. He had himself a day, 27 points, 10 rebounds, handedly led the way for Montenegro, who beat Mexico 91-71, 20-point victory. Vuce was incredible. I mean, looked like Orlando, Nikola Vucevic. So that was cool to see. led the category in rebounds with 10, obviously. And then in assists, you had Kendrick Perry with 7. I'm pretty sure Kendrick Perry's in the league. I don't remember for what team. He might be a G League guy. I'm not positive, but his name sounds familiar. 14, Mexico, leading the way. Francisco Cruz with 16. Leading the way in rebounds, Fabian James, and then leading the way in assists, Paul Stoll. So not a great game for Mexico. Again, kind of a clunker. Mexico didn't take too many threes, only 19, but they still only shot 31.5%. They did have 16 turnovers. So
yeah,
to not sound redundant, talked about it before. So
turnovers kill you. Yeah.
They really do. Especially, I think the quarters are shorter too in FIBA. I think they're only 10 minutes. So
that's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. It really adds up quick. Getting into one of the first real blowouts, we've got Latvia really kind of beating the brakes off of Lebanon, 109-70. Yeah. Latvia's got some depth to them. They've got a lot of guys. The only few I recognize are Davis Bertans and Rodions Kurucs. I'm imagining Artur's Kurucs is maybe his brother or a cousin or something. I don't want to assume, but just gonna guess there.
Yeah.
Leading the way for Latvia in this big win was Davis Bertans or Darius Bertans, who I imagine is probably a brother or cousin. I don't know. But he led the way with 20 points. Leading the way in rebounds, you had a tie between Rollins Smils and Andres Grasulis with 7. And then leading the way in assists, Artur Zagars had 11. So good display of playmaking there for Latvia. Team Lebanon, Amari Spellman, Warriors legend. Briefly, you had a stint with the Warriors in the bubble season. Drafted by the Hawks in, I think, 2018, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe you're right. I believe you are right. 2018 sounds very much,
He's been in, I think, China the last couple of years playing since being out of the NBA. He got traded to the Timberwolves. That was in the D'Lo trade.
Okay. Did you go to college in Michigan? Does that sound right?
You may be right.
Yeah, I remember him. Yeah, he was decent.
Yeah.
Maybe not, actually. Maybe I'm wrong. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Let's see here. Spellman.
Because to be honest, I didn't think Lebanon had any NBA talent whatsoever.
Oh, he was a Nova guy. He played for Villanova.
You're right. You were 100% right. Yes, you're right.
I think he was on the same team with Eric Pascal and them. So
yes, he was. I think they would have won in 17. I don't remember if he was there for.
Yeah, that was with Michael, I'm pretty sure, and Dante. Yeah, I think it was with Dante and all them. Yeah. Great Villanova team, but Amari Spellman not leading the way in scoring, very nearly. Kind of had a little bit of a burst at the end from the highlights I saw. Leading the way for Lebanon was Sergio El Darwish with 19 points. Leading the way in rebounds, also Sergio El Darwish with 5. And then leading the way in assists, Wael Archil. Hopefully, again, I'm pronouncing that correctly, with 8 assists. So Lebanon really struggling. Just in the brief highlights I saw, definitely kind of look anemic. There's not much kind of cohesion there, but they're playing and you got to respect it. 29% from 3 for them, 7 of 24, 14 turnovers. Latvia only having 5 turnovers in the entire game, shooting 51% from 3 as well. They got some stripers over there. So
they definitely do.
Moving into one of the games we're kind of going to go in depth on, we've got the Dominican Republic barely outlasting the Philippines in Manila, 87-81. And before we even get into the game itself, I just want to say, shout out to the Philippine fans, man. You guys are loud. That was a fantastic environment just from the highlights. I was just shocked. Every time the Philippines touched the ball, rebound, steal, hustle play, make a shot, whatever the case may be, crowd went nuts. Every time the Dominican Republic touched the ball, boos or utter silence. They did not care. And you love to see stuff like that. That's, I always say it's like you just watch any other country, whether it's basketball, but whatever sport they're playing, every country out cheers their teams compared to the US. It's
Oh
just,
yeah.
it's not even comparable.
Yeah.
Um, so let's get into that one. What did you think of that game, man?
Yeah, man. It's like you mentioned, they really outlasted them. It was a closer one than I would have expected, seeing the Dominican Republic's talent. And I was kind of surprised, but Jordan Clarkson put on a show, man. That is the headliner for the Philippines, and I will be getting into his stat line right now. Finished with 20, I'm sorry, my next mistake, 28, 7, 7, and 2, and 1. And I got to say, it's a bit tough to see him play this way. I feel kind of bad because, like we've mentioned, the Philippines' talent as of right now isn't what it should be. And you got to mention that Dwight Ramos was his second man, I guess, in command. And then they had Fajardo off the bench as a center, dropping 16 and 2 assists. So outside of that, there's just not too much scoring from the rest of the roster. And like you mentioned, I'll pull up so as a unit, they didn't play, actually shot considerably better than the Dominican Republic, shooting 48% from the field and shooting 33% from three versus the Dominican Republic's 39% from the field and their 21% from three, which I'm looking at this a bit more and I'm kind of wondering how they kind of won this game.
The big thing, the turnovers, 19
Yeah.
turnovers.
Yeah. Yeah,
One
you're
of the
right.
big issues with the Warriors this past season was I was always keeping track of how many shots the opponent took compared to
Yeah.
the Warriors. And you can see here, total field goals attempted, the Philippines only took 56.
Yeah, that is a
The
discrepancy.
DR took 73. So,
It's a lot.
you're just not getting a lot of shots up. You already don't have enough scoring. And then you've got the 19 turnovers. It's, again, you could shoot
Yeah.
as well as you want. It's just hard to win a basketball game. But yeah, like you said, for them to get as close as they did, pretty impressive still from the effort from Clarkson.
Very much so.
What else you got from the DR?
So you got Cat having 26, 7, and 5 turnovers, which is pretty interesting to see. I don't know anyone else aside from Lester Quinones, but they have their guard, Liz, dropping 18.
Yeah.
Actually, a very solid game. 18, 6 rebounds, 1 assist, and 4 steals. And then you have Feliz, 12, 12, 5, 6, and 8 in 1. So you got a pretty interesting scoreboard over here. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really notice that. That's pretty impressive. And then, but like we mentioned, as a unit, they had a very rough game shooting the ball, but they got it done. So
Yeah, the perimeter defense from Victor Liz and Andres Felice was definitely impressive in those highlights. A lot of steals, a lot of great
yeah,
ball pressure,
they
forcing the
created
ball out
turnovers.
of hand.
Very
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
created lots of turnovers. Yeah,
LJ Figueroa, another name I recognize, more of a G leaguer. I think he played for the Warriors. I think we talked about him before, like briefly. Um, he had a couple big plays in that game, but yeah, Cat absolutely led the way. Led the
yeah,
way in rebounds with 10. Felice led the way in assists with 8. Big game there, Philippines, Dominican Republic. So
yeah,
going to be interesting to see how the DR moves forward from this. But yeah, that was kind of a nice change of pace from the 3 previous, which just weren't really close.
yeah. Very
Um,
much so.
moving into another kind of blowout, but they've got some guys that, and we think Germany's a great team, so
Yeah,
we want to mention them. Germany handedly beating Japan 81-63. Uh, big game for Mo Wagner. Obviously, the Wagner brothers playing there for Germany. Let us know, how was that game for you? What do you think?
man. Like you mentioned, it is too bad that it went that way for Franz. But aside from that, like you mentioned, Mo Wagner had himself a game off the bench too. 25 points, 9 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, and 1 block.
Yeah,
That's filling up the stat sheet and making the most of your minutes. And I got to say, he's a very interesting player this whole tournament. And like we also said, Daniel Tice, another guy loading up the stat sheet. 13, 6, and 3, and 2, and 1. You have a bunch of guys working together on this team, and I cannot say how important that is for a team like this. There's no one that is particularly dominating the scoring besides Wagner this game, but you have Schroeder also dropping in 14 points. And like
yeah.
you mentioned, Franz went down. who knows what happens? Who knows his stat line by the end of the game if he doesn't?
And
So
just to preface that, I think we mentioned that before we started. Franz Wagner in the second half sprained his ankle. Nothing, I haven't seen anything come out about it being major or anything. It could just be day to day, but it potentially could be the end of Franz playing for Germany. He did not play in today's game for them. So hopefully everything's good there. But yeah, go ahead.
yeah, and then we'll get on to Japan. And they have a few interesting players. Definitely Yuta Watanabe is the headliner, I would personally say, dropping
100%.
20, 6, 2, and 1, and 2 blocks also to add in. He's a guy we've been talking about on the channel going forward with the Suns. So that's someone that's interesting, having a pretty solid FIBA so far. And then Jordan Hawkinson, their forward, who also had 9, 10, 1, and 1. Another guy I'm not very familiar with. Do you know more about him or no?
I didn't. I just saw the game from today that they played,
yeah,
and
I mean,
Josh Hawkinson went off. So
yeah, that
but
is.
yeah, the rebounding, you can kind of clearly see that he's getting up there. Yeah, I haven't heard of him though, but
No,
if there's anybody from the NBA looking, he's definitely making a name for himself. So interesting there.
both shot a pretty atrociously from the three. Germany
Yeah.
shooting 18%, Japan shooting 17%. Field goal percentage, a lot better for Germany, 47 to Japan's 35%. Rebound game, Germany kind of dominated again. That's something we mentioned. The rebound,
Yeah.
Germany's kind of dominating that section. They out-rebounded Japan by 11, something to look forward to. Also, total turnovers, not that big of a discrepancy. 10 for Germany, 14 for Japan. So nothing too crazy there. But it's a pretty interesting team, but like you said, with Franz having this issue, I don't know how I'd feel about them going forward in the tournament. Still an interesting team, though, but I personally probably have them in my top 5 if they keep going forward with Franz.
Yeah, I imagine too, if Franz does go down, we'll see a lot more of Isaac Bonga, who is not as good and like nowhere near the score that Franz is, but I like Isaac Bonga's defense. Big hustle guy. So could be kind of a different way of playing the game, and probably see more scoring from Schroeder. And continue seeing more scoring from Mo Wagner. So definitely an interesting game. Yeah, like you said, Germany team we want to keep paying attention to moving forward. A lot of guys that have some potential there. But Japan is kind of intriguing me. We all know Yuta's a great player, good off the bench, led the league in 3-point percentage last year for a great portion of it.
Yeah.
Maybe actually led the league in general. I don't remember if he finished the leading.
I think he did, but I just don't think he had enough attempts to technically qualify.
Yeah. But yeah, Josh Hawkinson, he's someone that's really intriguing me. I will just say, we won't even get into the whole stat sheet for today's game for Japan. He had 19 boards.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Okay, I told Dom, bro came out like Shaq. So yeah.
That's a game.
Yeah, getting a big rebounding guy like that, I imagine there are going to be some teams giving him a bit of a call.
Yeah.
Moving on from that game, we're going to fly through a bit with Egypt and Lithuania. Lithuania led by Jonas Valanciunas, plays for the Pelicans, great center in this league, kind of old school back to basket sort of dude, great passer, great rebounder. Led the way second in scoring, Margeris Normantis, who was striping that thing. I mean, he looked fantastic for Lithuania. 18 points to lead Lithuania in scoring. Jonas Valanciunas, obviously with the rebounding, led the way there with 10 assists, leading the way. You had a good game from Ignas Brazdeikis. I don't know if he still plays in the NBA. He did for a little bit. He was a bench dude, so
that name sounds very familiar.
I'm pretty positive he played for the Nets, if I'm not mistaken.
That sounds very familiar, yeah.
He played for the Magic, and I'm pretty sure the Nets. I could be mistaken. Nope, never the Nets, actually. Knicks. He played for the Knicks.
Yes.
And Philly for a bit, and then Orlando for 2 years.
I remember him from the Knicks.
Yeah, he didn't play last season, though, so this was a year out of the league. But good game for him all around. He had 8, 5, and 5. For Egypt, leading the way scoring, Assem Mare, the center, 14 points, leading in rebounding as well with 9, and then leading the way in assists for Egypt. You had a 3-way tie between Ihab Salah, sorry.
Okay.
Amr El Gendi, and then Adam Musa, all with 3 assists. Getting into the stats here, 26% from three for Egypt, only took 15 attempts though, which is
Okay.
interesting.
Yeah.
The big kind of stand that I'm seeing here is only 47% from the free throw line, which is just never good,
Yeah.
regardless of where you're playing. 9 of 19, that's a really rough night there. Only 10 turnovers, but yeah, just didn't have the cumulative scoring and free throws. They always kill you, man. And those just aren't those are easy opportunities you want to convert. So
Yeah.
but yeah, big game for Jonas, 15 and 10. Marjoris or Montes looked very solid. Great shooting game for him. Kind of interested in Lithuania moving forward. They've got some guys, but yeah, kind of a unfair game, I would say there.
Yeah.
So yeah, Lithuania really putting the beat down on Mexico there. 96-66, 30-point win. Like we said, Mexico maybe not a team we're really looking at as one of the competitors. But I'd
Yeah.
say kind of bordering on middle of the pack as a team. So
Yeah.
yeah. Moving on from there, though, team we're kind of going to get into both teams actually. We've got Canada versus France, and as we were saying before, France is a team that we've all
Yeah.
kind of looked at as being a really competitive team. They've got a lot of names. Some that we thought would play didn't. Obviously, the big one being Victor Wembanyama and Bilal Koulibaly, but both of those dudes did not show up. So for Team France, the two big names were Rudy Gobert, of course, and then Evan Fournier. Had a couple more guys there with Nick Batum. So they still had some names, but uh, Team Canada, we've already said, is one of like kind of I guess you would say 1A, 1B with the US. I think the US has a better overall roster, but
Yeah.
uh, Canada probably has the second best. And I don't think anybody's really close up to that. What did you think of this game?
Like you said before we started this podcast, they did not want to be there, man. It looked like they just didn't want to play or something because they got absolutely scraped. And we like we mentioned, Canada, they're very, very, very talented. And we knew this before the tournament started. And just to point out some of the box score stuff, man, it is kind of ugly. Like this is one of the higher echelon teams. This is probably before this tournament started. If you're saying France, you're like, okay, this is a top 5 team. This
Yeah,
is one of the best FIBA teams there is. It's been like this for years. So you lose the rebounding game, 45 rebounds to 35 rebounds. You lose that by 10. Not even to mention, you lose the turnover game, 18-10. You get beat down and you shoot 6 for 28 from three. Canada didn't shoot too much better either, but you lose the free throw game also 27-13. They didn't look aggressive whatsoever. They didn't play with any concern or any care in the world. And this is one of the best teams. This blew my mind because this was supposed to be a great game. This
yeah,
was not supposed to be a 30-point blowout. This is France. This is one of the best basketball countries on the planet as of right now.
yeah.
So to see Canada's go in there, mollywop the shit out of them like that is insane to me because you have SGA dropping 27, 13, 6, 2, and only one turnover. That's pretty insane to me. You have Dwight Powell, who didn't have a great game, but came there, contributed 6, 3, 2, 2. Pretty solid stat line. And then Kelly Olynyk, he has been a surprise to me, man. He has been lighting it up. This game, 18, 4, 2, and 1. Very solid player. RJ
Yeah.
Barrett, not the best game from him. 5, 6, and 5, 1. Still filling out the stat sheet. Can't complain. Brooks, obviously, we saw the Brooks dunk on.
He had kind of a big game, yeah.
Yeah, he did.
It
He
was
did have
funny
a
too. They were booing him right before that dunk.
yeah.
They're like, okay, I guess not,
Yeah. He finished with 12, 4, and 1 and 1. That was solid. And then you have Edie didn't play too much. And then the guys on the bench didn't play too much, aside from Nikhil Alexander Walker, who's also been a very pleasant surprise.
He's
Very
looked good
solid
with the
player.
Timberwolves, yeah.
Yeah, very solid player himself. Very solid
Yeah.
defensive guard. I wouldn't mind him too much on my team. 12, 1, 2. Not too bad, but like you mentioned, he's playing very solid defense out there. Very solid
Yeah.
perimeter defender.
One of the
along with
best guards defensively right now. Yeah.
very much so. I'm a big fan of his game. And then moving on to France, they had a very poor game outside of Fournier, who Fournier finished with 21, 3, 1, and 2. Gobert, 8, 9, 1, and only one block. Yabusele, 4, 2, 2. And then DeColo used to play for the Spurs, I would want to say
Yeah.
year 2012 to maybe 2014. He had 12, 3, 3. And Batum, man, he did not. I saw the block he had. That was like the only highlight I saw when he blocked SGA's dunk. Or was it Lou Dort? I think
It was Lou Dort.
it
Yeah.
was Lou Dort. I saw that 0 points, 4, 1, and 3 blocks. But like to say, this is his last FIBA, I believe. This is his last time
Or
putting on
retires.
the
Yeah.
France jersey. Yeah, I believe so. So this is kind of a very sad and poor performance from him. I'm kind of disappointed to see that for him. I've always been a
Because he is a scorer in the NBA. Like
yeah,
he's not a defensive guy. You
yeah,
know, maybe at one point in Portland you could say he
yeah,
kind of was, but
yeah.
it's been a very long time since Batum has been anything other than like kind of a sharpshooter slash, kind of hybrid scoring force. So
Yeah, I mean, I would say the last time he was like that was probably Charlotte when
yeah,
he,
like a couple years there. Yeah.
yeah, it's yeah. But like we mentioned, this is just it's a stinker, man. If you're France, you gotta, well, not even to mention you're gone. This is a poor performance from France. This is
Yeah, and by saying they're gone, we'll get into it next weekend.
yeah,
But they lost to Latvia. They're eliminated.
they're gone.
They punched in, punched out, two
Yeah,
L's in a row. So
biggest surprise of the tournament so far, I would say for me, man, because I expected them to do a lot better than this.
oh yeah,
I maybe expected Canada to win this game, but not in this fashion. This
yeah.
is complete blowout fashion. This is embarrassing if I'm saying it for France. I was expecting them to
No,
put
yeah.
a better fight than that, man, because that is very poor performance.
Yeah, and we've talked a bit about Evan Fournier. We said before we started recording, but we've talked about it before. Going to the Knicks, man, sometimes it can just be an absolute death trap for your career.
Yeah.
It's just, at least with Thibodeau as the coach, one day you're playing and the next day it's over. I mean, the Knicks are kind of the reason why Kemba Walker just is no longer it's
Yeah.
gone.
No, very much so.
Went to the
sad
Knicks, and people just were like, I guess he doesn't play anymore. And
Yeah,
it's like,
he got
no,
sent to
Thibodeau
Detroit,
is just
right?
like, yeah, he's just chilling.
And
He's
then now
just
he's in
he went with the Dallas Mavericks briefly.
and then now he's in is he in Europe? Or it's like a
Yeah,
group?
he's playing overseas.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
and
weird career trajectory for him.
I mean, we all know like Kemba Walker at least had a ton of injury issues.
Yeah.
Had a tough time staying healthy, but to be out of the league like that when, like, what, 3-4 years ago, this dude was like a marquee pickup for the Celtics. Yeah,
very much so. It's weird, man.
I blame the Knicks.
Yeah, hey,
But Evan Fournier,
has a lot
this
of good
dude.
basketball, I think, in him.
Well, and we all forget, like, his final year in Orlando, he was one of the best shooting guards in the league. Like, he was playing incredible basketball, averaging 20 plus a game.
Yeah.
So the stuff we're seeing here, like, it's not shocking. Like, we know this is Evan Fournier.
Yeah, he does that.
Boston, it's a tough place because even though Fournier should have worked there, Jason Tatum is a ball dominant wing. Jaylen Brown's a ball dominant wing. Marcus Smart's an okay playmaker, but he's not a guy you want to be your playmaker. So for an Evan Fournier, it's kind of hard to get anything rolling. But to see him kind of go out for France and be the guy, I hope is a hopeful resurgence for his career, because I think he's still got a lot left in the tank and could definitely provide a lot of scoring.
Yeah.
I'm not. Is he still with the Knicks? Or did he
that's
get?
A great question, because
he's still with the Knicks.
Yeah, he needs to be bought out, I believe, before.
I hope he is.
He's a pretty big buyout candidate or something. I was reading that, and there's a lot of teams that were like interested. Obviously,
I hope he gets moved, because
I do too, man.
He definitely has a lot to offer still, in my opinion. So
I agree with you there.
Moving on from that game, we'll kind of briefly go through Cape Verde losing by 25 to Georgia. Georgia coming out with the win here, 85-60. Georgia had a lot going on, with just NBA and stuff. I'm pretty sure this is Zaza Pachulia's home country, and there's been a lot of stuff going on with Georgia, if I'm not mistaken. last like 5 or 6 years with basketball. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm thinking of Enes Kanter. But
Turkey.
yeah, Turkey. Okay, never mind then. But for Georgia, the couple dudes I recognize, Sandro Mamakhalashvili and Goga Batadze were the two that I know played in the league. I think Goga recently or in last season got
He
like
played.
DFA'd or
Yeah.
something like that by the Pacers. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. It would have been the pace. Yeah. That
he
sounds
was
right.
playing. Speaking of which, second in scoring for Georgia in this game, behind Tornik Shengelia, who had 16 points. Goga came in second with scoring with 15. Goga also leading in the rebounding category with 11 for Georgia. And then leading in assists, Rati Andronikashvili with 6 of them. So pretty spread out game there. Georgia looked pretty solid. The highlights. Sandro looked solid, had some good moments. Duda looked pretty solid. Just they play a good brand of basketball. They move the ball a lot, and that's always a way to win the game. So for Cape Verde, I did not recognize anyone. Didn't recognize anyone. Leading the way in scoring with only 11 points was Kennedy Mendez. I don't recognize him, but he came off the bench. So the leading score for the starters was 9 points for Will Tavares. Rough game for Cape Verde. In the rebounding category, Eddie Tavares
Oh, I
leading
know
the
him.
way. You recognize him?
I want to say he played for the Cavaliers with LeBron. Eddie Tavares. He's a center, I
Yeah.
believe. I believe he's the center that was on the Celtics. Then he got moved to the Cavaliers in the Isaiah
Oh,
Thomas trade.
okay.
Kyrie
Interesting.
Irving. That might be him. Let me double check that. I don't want to tell anyone
Yeah,
that.
I see him in the Cavs jersey in his picture here.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
yeah,
You know, I
basketball reference.
let me see. I believe that's yes. I know Eddie Tavares. Yes.
Yeah, he was with Atlanta in 2016 or 2015. He was with Atlanta, and
Oh, you're
then
right.
in
I'm
2016 got
sorry.
traded to Cleveland.
Yeah, I'm getting mixed up with the center. Oh man, I can't even think of his name right now. I think his name's like Poirier or something. I don't remember.
Hmm. Okay,
But yes, I do remember Eddie Tavares. Yes, he was a not very kind of
seven
flash.
three, big man,
Yeah, he didn't play too
big
much.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but leading the way in rebounding with 12 for Cape Verde. Uh, Leading the way in assists, you had Ivan Almelda with 3. Uh, like we said, Georgia kind of handily won this one.
Yeah.
25-point win there. Boy, howdy. 11.5% from 3 for Cape Verde, shooting 3 of 26.
You're never gonna win that one.
21 to 71 or 21 of 71 from the field, shooting 29%. Also, they took 11 more shots than Georgia and
Wow.
shot far less. They
That's
got
it.
out rebounded by 10, 48 to 38,
Yeah.
and they had 15 turnovers. Shockingly, I mean, I guess not shockingly, but Georgia had 22
Yeah.
turnovers. Still managed to come away with a 25-point win there. Just definitely a rough game for Cape Verde. They're
Yeah.
definitely what I would consider to be kind of one of the bottom teams.
Yeah.
I wouldn't really even think of them as middle of the pack personally. Moving on from there, I don't think either of us looked at South Sudan or Puerto Rico as two big time comp
No.
teams, but man, did they have an absolute shootout in this game. Overtime win for Puerto Rico, 101 to 96. This was a fantastic highlight reel to watch. The only reason this game went to overtime, there was like zero point 0.3 seconds, and a dude got fouled for Puerto Rico, went to the free throw line, missed both free throws. The game was tied. He just had to hit one, and he missed both free throws, sent the game into OT. So a lot of drama there. Big game for Stephen Thompson Jr. for Puerto Rico, who looked spectacular. And then a big game for Carlik Jones, who in week 1 led the FIBA World Cup in scoring with 35 points. What'd you think of this game?
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't watch too much of it, but it was very surprising. Like you mentioned, these were two teams that neither of us would ever thought of. For South Sudan, who is on the roster? there's someone I can't think of at the top of my
Wenyan
head.
Gabriel.
Yes, Wenyan Gabriel he's currently not unsigned, I believe.
Yeah,
But
he's a free agent. He had a lot
yeah,
of blocks, I'm pretty sure, in this
yeah,
game.
no, that's like you mentioned. There's like this is an example. There's so many different players in the league that it's starting to grow so much for, and that there's so many new places that are going to be put on the map. Because I think as of
Yeah.
right now, there like you tell me 10 years ago, either of these teams, I would have been like, I don't really care too much about that. But nowadays, you tell me that, and you say Wayne and Gabriel or someone like that, even if he is a role player, it's still very interesting to think someone in the NBA like that is on it, like just from somewhere like I like how much the game's growing, and I think
Yeah.
over the last 10 years it's grown so much, and a lot more definitely in the future. But no, definitely this isn't. Yeah, like you mentioned, the overtime was a pretty crazy game. I only saw I didn't like you mentioned. I only saw the highlights of it, and yeah, it pretty
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
I was just so shocked watching Carlik Jones. He made some fantastic passes, led the way in scoring for South Sudan, led the way in assists for South Sudan with 11, and second as a point guard in rebounds with 6, leading the way in rebounds, a tie between Wenyan Gabriel and Mario Shayak. But Carlik Jones, to me, player of the week for week 1 for FIBA. Unreal game for him. I think he just won the G League Player of the Year, if I'm not mistaken, or in the last couple of years he won.
No, I think you're right.
Yeah, because I know 2 years ago it was Travion Quinn or something like Travion Queen won 2 years ago for the Pacers G League team. And I think Carlik Jones won this past year, maybe the year before Queen. But yeah, he looked incredible for South Sudan. For Puerto Rico, leading the way in scoring, Stephen Thompson Jr., shooting guard, I'm pretty sure, for Puerto Rico, had 21 points, 13 rebounds, and 4 assists. Leading the way in rebounds with 13 was Stephen Thompson Jr. Multiple guys with double-digit boards. You had 13 from Thompson. Ismael Romero had 12, and then George Condit IV had 11. Big time rebounding game there for those starters for Puerto Rico. Leading the way in assists was Tremont Waters with 10. Big game for Puerto Rico. They looked like they dominated most of the time outside of Carlik Jones. That dude was just incredible late in the game. Really, really good. Kind of reminded me of Jordan Clarkson the way he was playing. So fun to see there. This is where the scoring starts to improve as the teams get better. You had 50% from the field shooting for South Sudan, 38.5% from 3, 10 of 26.
Wow.
Big game there. Yeah. The offense looked solid.
Yeah.
42% from the field for Puerto Rico. Ended up taking 15 more shot attempts, though. So,
yeah,
percentages probably going to be lower there. 35.5% from 3, took 28 threes. Did shoot 67% from the free throw line, ended up missing 10, but they took 31 free throws, which is never good. You do not want a team shooting 30 free throws.
A lot, yeah.
Puerto Rico did out-rebound South Sudan 50-38, and both teams had 20 turnovers. South Sudan ended up with 22, actually, and led the way with 23 fouls. So kind of an ugly, great game, Wasn't a clunk fest. Yeah. But it was also just ugly in every other possible way.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Wow.
This to me was the game of the week. I had a lot of fun watching this highlight reel. This was really fun. Moving on from there, we've got Jordan versus Greece. This is a game we're kind of going to fly through. If Giannis was playing, we wouldn't. But because Giannis is hurt, it's kind of one where, we're not like, I don't mean to be a jerk, but I'm not really here to watch Georgios Papagiannis. Okay, good, cool player, but sorry. Anyways, Greece coming out with the win here over Jordan, 92-71. Even though they lost, to me the biggest standout of this game was Rondae Hollis-Jefferson. Rondae has been in the league for a while, hasn't played in 3 years, I think.
Yeah,
but you're going to see a lot of Kobe memes with Rondae Hollis-Jefferson because dude came into this tournament with a shaved head, the Kobe forearm band, a pair of Kobe's, short socks, the long shorts, and number 24. So and he was just going off. He had 24 points, 9 boards, and 3 assists tonight, leading the way for Jordan, who unfortunately lost. But Ronde was just killing it. Leading for Greece, you had 19 points from Gianoulis Larentzakis, 19 points. Leading the way with rebounds, you had Nikos Pakopoulos. Greek names are so fucking tough, man. They are so tough. 7 points there. Leading the way in assists, Thomas Walkup with 7. That was an easy one. Big game there for Greece to win without Giannis. I think we all kind of considered Greece a lost cause without Giannis, but picking up the win there, that's pretty big. We'll see what they look like in week 2. I don't think they've played yet. Could be wrong. Ronde leading the way for Jordan, leading the way in rebounds. He tied with Amel Duviriogalu. Both had 9 boards. Leading the way in assists was Freddie Ibrahim. So, not too poor a game for Jordan. They did shoot 40% from 3. Only took 20 attempts, but still a solid game.
Yeah.
They had more turnovers with 14, but I think the big thing here was the shot attempts. 68 for Greece, 56 for Jordan. Like we said, again, you don't want to beat it over the head, but not shooting enough kind of just makes it harder to win. So, cool game. Good to see Greece win without Giannis. Moving into one, we're kind of just going to fly through because, man, was this a blowout. Brazil beating the brakes off of Iran 100-59. That's a 2K game. Okay, that's a rookie mode 2K my career game.
Yeah.
Brazil looked great. Granted, I don't think Iran has much. I don't think they have a single dude in the league on their team.
I would think not.
Which is no hate. It's just like some of these teams do, and those teams tend to just be better. Because it's elite competition. But Bruno Cavalco leading the way for Brazil with 16 points. You were talking about him for this week's game. Who looked fantastic was Bruno. Or maybe that was Bruno Fernandes. Sorry. Leading the way in rebounding. Bruno Cavalco also leading the way there. Had 7 rebounds. And then as far as assists go, leading the way was Iago Matias with 6. Sadly, in this game, Raul Neto, someone we've briefly talked about on the channel a bit, is like quality backup point guards, playmaking point guards. He tore his patellar tendon, and that's a season-ending injury, not just for FIBA, but in general. That's going to be like a year of recovery. Really sad to see. You never want to see guys get hurt, especially in a severe way like that. So I hope Raul Neto could come back strong. Sad to see that happen, but huge win, I'm sure. Even though he's hurt, he's happy as hell his team won like that. Moving into the stats there, Brazil dominated everywhere. 54% from the field, 41% from 3, out-rebounded them 42-29.
Wow.
Only had 15 turnovers to Iran's 19. Only had 11 fouls, which is kind of crazy. You never really see that little fouling.
Yeah.
As an NBA watcher. Just kind of a blowout there. For Team Iran, leading the way in scoring was Mateen Ajanpour with 11 points. Leading the way in rebounding was Amini Mohammed with 6 rebounds. And then leading the way in assists was Atai with 3 assists. But we'll just mention Arsalan Kazemi. A lot of guys with 3 assists. Pretty much we talked about the whole roster at that point. But yeah, just kind of a blowout game. Those are the ones that kind of we talked about before. It's like college football. It's Alabama versus a liberal arts school. But yeah, Gui Santos is playing from Brazil, so we love to see these wins. Moving on from there, one that we are going to get into, Slovenia versus Venezuela. We're here for Luka. We're all here for Luka. Bro went off. You could get right into it, man. This was a big game.
So you have Mr. Doncic leading the way. And I'm going to say it right now, Venezuela surprised me a bit more than I expected.
They look pretty solid.
Pretty solid percentage from 3. They shot 40% from 3. as a unit. Slovenia also shot 39%, so a very similar percentage right there. They got dominated on the glass, though, badly. So you have Slovenia, 39 rebounds, to Venezuela's 23. Kind of a bad thing to go with. But then again, you have someone that's an all-world talent, an MVP caliber player, and that's just how it goes. You have Luka with 37, 7, 6, 2, and 1. What else more can we say? He's top 5 player in the NBA.
Yeah.
It's bound to happen. Venezuela played a lot better than I'll say. I am still very shocked they played this well. I don't know anyone on the roster.
Yeah, that's what was so shocking. Yeah, and they look great.
They played a lot better than I expected. Their leading scorer had 16. Finished the game with 16, 2, 2, and 1. Not a bad stat line. You have your second leading scorer starting, Correa, 10, 4, 2, and 1. Not bad. And then it just seemed that it's a roster that is not going to be as great as the other rosters, obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously, to me, though, this game, they kind of showed they might be closer to the middle than I would expect, because I am very impressed they didn't get blown out by more, personally. But then again, you go on to the Luka team. There's a lot of players that I don't know, but they have their center went 9 for 9 and 3 for 3. The 3-point line. 21, 5, 2. Not bad game.
We got Goran Dragic's brother there, Zoran.
Zoran. He didn't have too great of a game. 2, 2, 4, 2, 4, and 3 and 1. Not a bad game. And then Nikolic. I'm guessing that's Luka's shooting guard next to him, which had 8, 2, 2, and 1.
Yeah.
Not a bad game. I mean, like I said, I'm very surprised it wasn't worse than the score shows, because this doesn't look too bad of a game. They hung in. It wasn't a complete blowout. Wasn't a close game, but it wasn't like these other games that we're seeing right now, like the Brazil game we just mentioned, the Cape Verde game we mentioned earlier, the Lebanon game we mentioned earlier. This is a game that's a lot closer than it probably should have been in reality.
Yeah, no, for sure. And also for the bench for Slovenia, having a big scoring outburst was Klemen Prepelic with 18 points and 6 boards. So another big game there. It's hilarious how similar this is a game for Luka. This is like, it felt like a Mavericks game. It's like Luka has an insane game. One dude kind of compliments, and then you got one guy off the bench that does pretty well. And then the team you think you're supposed to jump actually sort of does well. The defense for any Luka team is just always not great. Granted, they did have that second half in 2022 where they were the best defense, but that since went away. Big game for Luka. Every Luka game. I mean, we're gonna have to watch the highlights, because unless we're
expecting a big game out of any FIBA game that he's in. He's
exactly.
A foreign game, you're expecting a very big game out of him.
Yeah, he just is one of the best players in the world, genuinely. So
big time.
Big one there for Slovenia.
Yes.
Moving on from there, we've got Serbia and China. And we're briefly going to get into Serbia here. They've just got a lot of names. I mean, if we go up and down this roster, you got Nikola Jovic, recent draft pick in the last couple of years for the Miami Heat. Bogdan Bogdanovic, one of the better shooting guards in the league. Probably like B+ tier shooting guard, maybe B. Great shooter. Solid shot creator. We've got who else was it? Stefan Jovic, I recognize that name. He had a bit of a solid game, not too much, but Serbia's got some guys, man. They play a good brand of basketball. They really beat on China there, 105-63. What'd you think? What'd you think of what you saw there?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'm not able to find the game stats right now, like the box score for the game.
Yep, I got you. I do.
Because like you mentioned, they played a very good game altogether, because I know multiple other players were above double digits.
Right. Yeah.
No, thank you so much for that. Yeah, because there's someone. Yeah, I just personally think they should be mentioned, because every year they always They have a team usually every other year. And not even to mention, there's a lot of players they have that aren't playing for them.
They should have Nikola Jokic playing.
You could argue the best
So,
player in the
in the
world is not
world,
playing with
yeah.
them. Yeah. So that's something to mention. But yeah. So you have Jovic
Just a
out
little
of the
bit.
East.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have him 9-3-2. Bogdan 14-4-3. Nikola Militunov, I want to say. I feel bad. I don't want to butcher that. Which
Milutinov, yeah, something like that.
11-6-2.
Yeah.
Then you have multiple guys, man. They all contribute in different ways because if you're going down the score sheet, man,
Everyone's putting numbers up. Yeah.
everyone's putting numbers up, man. Ristich, 13-6. Marinkovic, 14-2. Avramovic, 10-4-1. Like, yeah, you're going down the stat sheet, man, and they're all contributing in their own way. And I like to see the minutes distribution there, man. There's obviously people that are dominating it, but as you see Bogdan, who I would probably argue is probably their best player personally.
Yeah, I'd say so.
He only played 22 minutes. So it's not like he is dominating the whole game and playing the whole game. There's everyone else. Like the lowest minutes on this team is playing 5.5 minutes, which if you look at USA's, Walker Kessler's only playing a minute and a half. So
yeah,
this shows that these guys can all play and hold their own. And Serbians are probably they're probably like top 5 basketball countries on the planet for creating plays and putting they're a lot of
they've got some names. They look like they're one like brink of contention for the World Cup. Like I'd still say they're upper middle pack.
They are,
but
yeah.
I'd say,
I believe
they can string a good,
yeah, they're below like the higher echelon guys, but they're knocking on the door. I'll say that.
Yeah, and I mean, I think at this point for them, it's kind of like if Nikola Jovic can take a step, then we're talking contention. Yeah,
you got a team because they have some interesting people there, and man, all I got to say is USA is very lucky Yugoslavia does not exist because I don't think we would ever win a tournament ever again if they did because there's so much talent in Eastern Europe, man. And then going to China's side, they have Kyle Anderson, the more known player from their roster.
Yeah.
Having a very weird game, putting up no points, 4 rebounds and 4 assists. Oh man, you have Zhao Rui, I believe, or is it
Zhao Rui, I imagine.
Yeah, and he had a decent game at 17 points. And the only other player that I very much recognize is Zhao Qi that played for the Rockets a bit ago. Yes, 12-5-2. And you have Kevin Zhang, who had a stat line of 9-2. So Dimension, man, they got dominated in the 3-point category. Serbia, 13 for 28 from 3. So you're shooting 46%. That is pretty madness versus China's 8 for 29, which is 27%. Then field goal percentage, Serbia shooting an absurd 57% versus China's 38%. Free throws, man, you're shooting your comparison, 28 free throws from Serbia.
12.
China's 12, man.
That looks like a Warriors game, baby. We don't ever get to the free throw line.
Man, the rebounds, tied in the rebound game, the assists, man. Serbia with 30 assists. That is insanity. 12 turnovers only, too. That's not terrible.
And forced 21.
Yeah, forced 21. And the foul game, man, they dominated. Only 12 as a unit. China's 20. So this is a game, 14 steals to 8 also to mention. That's pretty big right there.
Serbia just dominated everywhere.
The good team. They're a team I personally have a lot of faith in. I wouldn't give up on them just yet. They're interesting. I like them a lot.
Yeah. And we're seeing kind of the last few years, China is getting a lot more attention and a lot more love. China, Japan, a lot of these Eastern Asian countries are getting a lot of love with basketball. So I think as the years go on, we'll see these teams improve.
They'll get
further and further.
Better, very much so. I think China will be great in a few
especially if some of the dudes that go overseas to play over there start joining China's team. Then I think they'll get even more competitive.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, big game there for Serbia. 105-63 win. Serbia team to look out for, especially in the coming years, depending on if Jokic decides to play. I'm honestly shocked he didn't. someone that you like who's super like loves Serbia
Yeah,
after
right.
every season goes back to Serbia.
Yeah.
You'd think he'd want to play, but
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, am I
yeah.
crazy? Has he not played since 2016? Like, I don't remember him in 18.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been a while.
He dominated the Olympic tournament a few years in 2016.
Mm,
And they were the ones who
geez.
met in the final against the USA and they lost, but they even put up a great game. And they got silver in 2016 with Jokic. And that kind of was like that was Jokic's like upbringing in a way. Like I
Mm,
remember as a rookie in 2016, but that Olympic kind of like really put him in my head, and I remember him from then.
right.
So I don't know. I'm kind of confused why he doesn't play because, and there's a lot of Serbian NBA players. I know Milos Tesajic from the
Mm,
Clippers in 2018. The 2017-18 season was one of the bigger. That was the person who Kevin Durant said he's the best passer he's ever seen in his life, and he played for Serbia.
Jesus.
Yeah, so
I actually think I remember that comment.
dude, yeah, they
Yeah.
have a lot of guys that I think he's a bit older though, so maybe that's why he's not
Yeah.
playing because they're a very interesting sports country in general because they're very solid at soccer too. They're not just a basketball
Yeah.
country. But yeah, because I feel like we're missing a few guys, but I guess maybe not. Maybe I'm incorrect on that. But yeah, definitely Jokic is someone that is
Could
left
change.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might change their chances a bit. Oh yeah, they have Pokusevski from the Thunder.
That's true.
Not playing either. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
We
know.
should see in the coming years though. So definitely a team to look out for. Even now, still better than expected.
Yeah.
Moving on. Last two of the day, we've got USA versus New Zealand. This was a pretty big one for the US. Uh, Another game, a lot of spread scoring, still kind of yet to see any major standout. We all know Anthony Edwards is kind of the guy they want to be the standout, but it just everything's kind of spread around. So what were your thoughts from this game?
Man,
Let's hear it.
they looked good, man. I mean, just to get into team stats before I get into individual stats, man. Team USA, 59.3% from the field as a unit, dude. That is mind-boggling. Almost 60% from the field, 44% from three. I know it's not a very big,
Only
not a
18
very big
shots.
shooting
Yeah.
day, only 18 threes, small attempts, but 44% from three, man. You can't complain with that. Shooting 27 free throws compared to New Zealand's 12, which that's a pretty big discrepancy right there.
Big time.
Not the biggest rebound differential that I would think, but 41 to 33. USA wins that, not bad. And the assists, 23 to 13. It's good to see USA passing the ball around. 10 to 7 steals, 7 blocks to 0. And then the turnovers tied at 19 each. So pretty solid game. And then the foul game, obviously, New Zealand 23 to USA 17. And
Right.
just as a unit, that just shows the dominance this as a team that they're doing together. Those are great numbers across the board. They are doing their job. And like you said, it's so much spread scoring. There's not anyone who's very much dominating like every game.
Yeah.
No one in the starting lineup went above 15. That says a lot. It shows you great things. And their best performance was off the bench, which it shows it's anyone's night. If anyone has a hot hand, they're gonna get it. So
Yeah.
it's good to see
Steve Kerr
that.
does that. Yeah.
And then so Brunson, 10, 4, and 4. Solid game. Jaren Jackson, 12, 4, 1, and 1 block. Edwards, 14, 7, and 3. Can't complain about that. Ingram, I know he had a poor shooting game. I saw that before. But he finished with 2, 2, 3, and 1. Mikal, 7, 4, 1, and 1. Not a bad game for any of these guys, realistically. Halliburton, solid again. 10, 4, and 3, and 3. So, and then not even to mention the big guys. Paula, 21, 4, 1, and 4 blocks. This team is very versatile. They can do almost all these guys can do so much different things, and it's really cool to see that.
I mean, the only dudes that played sub 10 minutes were Bobby Portis and Walker Kessler. They just wanted to go smaller. Yeah. Everyone else played 15 or more minutes.
Exactly. It's great to see.
Which is wild.
Yeah. Oh, it's cool. And then Reeves again. Reeves is having
a great game.
Very
great
great.
series. Yeah.
Great. Just he's a great showing right now. 12, 2 and 6 and 3.
Mhm.
So he's making some pretty cool passes out there. I saw the one he threw to Paulo. That was pretty cool. The nice little dish off, and Paulo just slams it. So I mean, it's really cool to see this team. This is I know like we've said, this team, it's not the most stars are on it, but there's still so many great players. And even if they are role players, they're great. It's fun to see this team, man.
And they're buying in. Like there's
they're
no real selfishness here. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's really cool to see. A lot of camaraderie, and I'm very fond of that. And then moving on to New Zealand, like I mentioned, I personally, I don't know anyone on this team. And I'm just gonna say that. No disrespect to them. They played. I mean, they came out and they did their thing. So
only lost by 17. It was only 99-72, so still not horrific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a bad game. No, I mean, realistically, I'm surprised it wasn't a bigger blowout, to be honest. Yeah. Not bad. And then, I mean, the best performer, I don't want to butcher this name, but I think it's Turangi or Rangai.
Potentially Ruben Turangi or something.
Yeah, you're probably right. Turangi is very much probably what it is. And he 15, 2 and 1. Not a bad game. Man, these kind of names are kind of throwing me off. Is that Delaney with 12, 5 and 4 or 12, 5 and 1? And Wetzel with 10, 1 and 1. And man, no, the dude, is that just Lee?
I think so. I think that's 2 L's. Shay Lee.
Okay, then he had a pretty good game. Filled up the stat sheet pretty well. 12, 4 and 5 and 1.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, it's just I like you mentioned, I don't know. It's just this is one of the teams that I don't think we had very much expectation of, but like you said, they didn't get blown out like we saw the other games. Like Lebanon got mollywopped.
Thrashed, that
it's not that they're not a great team. It's just USA is probably the best team in the whole thing. And New Zealand, not saying they stuck there the whole time, but they didn't get beat as bad as I would have thought.
It was just another one of those third quarters, 19 points in the first for the U.S., 26 in the second, 31 in the third, 23 in the fourth. Like the U.S., I'm telling you, man, it's the Steve Kerr effect. These third quarters are just going to always be like this. New Zealand, aside from the third quarter, they didn't score 20 points in a quarter. Like they still stayed in it. But it was, 17 points in today's basketball is not horrid. It's still a dub, it's still a dub loss, but it's not losing by 50. And there's been
having
no names. That's
I
can't comp game.
I can't say anything bad about them. They, like you mentioned, no names, so it's
if I'm from New Zealand, I'm kind of proud. That's not you kept them under 100 points too. You kept the US under 100.
France lost by more,
and France was supposed to be far better. So
hey, I can't disrespect them, man. They played.
Yeah. Moving on from there to close out today, we've got Spain versus Ivory Coast. And this is not a game we were really looking out for. However, Spain is one of the best teams in international play. So kind of wanted to briefly go over them. What did you think? I mean, I'm really only seeing one standout, but
the Hernan Gomez brothers or what?
Willie going off with 22 and 5. Next best scorer, Usman Garuba with 12 and 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like they're always a team that will always be around. They've been one of the best international teams for give or take 30 years now. They've been great for basketball. They've been solid, one of the higher ups. I mean, as a unit, can't complain. 53% from the field compared to Ivory Coast 39. 3-point shot 38 pretty much if you round up 38.
Damn good. That's like borderline elite.
Ivory Coast 34 and a half. Not bad either.
Yeah.
Free throw game 15 for 22 compared to Ivory Coast 5 for 7.
Jesus.
Yeah. But the rebounding game, man.
7 free throws. Wow.
They got thrashed on the boards. It was 48 to 26, and that you'll never win a game if you're getting out rebounded that badly. And that's
kind of what I'm seeing right now that separates it the most. And obviously,
19 defensive boards. Jeez.
yeah, that's insane, man. 31 to 19. Yeah, that is 31 defensive rebounds, 17 offensive rebounds alone. It's like, man, that is ugly, man. That is not good. And then the 29 assists to 15.
But I think what's crazy about the offensive rebounds is Spain only took one more shot for the game over Ivory Coast, 17 boards.
Yeah, and that doesn't even seem right.
Yeah,
that doesn't even seem right, man.
I guess the turnovers, Spain had 18.
I guess the free throws too.
That as well. Well, they took 22. I mean, Ivory Coast only took 7.
Yeah, that's like more attempts going to the line. And then,
true. I know what you mean.
The turnovers, Spain had more turnovers too. And then, I mean, it's not even if you look at everything else aside from the rebounding and the free throws, nothing's that lopsided.
Yeah, like, Ivory Coast played all right. Like the field goal percentage was rough, and they didn't really get to the line much, but 34% from 3. I mean, as far as like other middle / lower teams, that's damn good compared to those other ones. So
it's interesting, man, because like we've mentioned, we've named some pretty bad performances from 3 today.
Yeah,
we've named teams that shot 15% and worse.
I mean, looking at Ivory Coast, you got leading the way here Bazumana Kane with 11 points and 3 assists. Jean-Philippe Dali with 10 points, 2 boards, and an assist. Like the only 2 guys in double-digit scoring.
Yeah,
but still, I mean, they kind of just spread the love. Like everybody played 11 plus or 10 plus minutes. So everybody saw the floor. Everybody was getting different looks. And shout out to Spain because they were the same way. Everybody played 11 or more minutes. Like,
Spain's they don't have like a star. They don't have like an NBA star on their team. They just play great.
The Hernan Gomez brothers, Alex Abrina, Santi Aldama, Usman Garuba, Rudy Fernandez. Yeah, they got guys. They're
superstar.
Good.
Man, they play a good brand. They're kind of like Serbia in a way. They remind me of them, how they share the love and it's
a big week for Spain sports. Unfortunately, the Women's World Cup is getting tainted by the fucking prick.
I saw that. Yeah, that was a little weird.
Yeah, that dude needs to go. But aside from him ruining a spectacular World Cup, Spain looked insane in the Women's World Cup. But they're having themselves quite the week as far as winning goes. Okay, fuck that dude, but they're winning. All right,
they want to know. They're starting off to a good tournament, and like we've mentioned, I definitely think they're a top 5 team no matter what.
They're a contender for sure.
Very much so.
But so that's going to wrap it up for today. We wanted to cover all the FIBA games. We're going to do the same thing next week with week 2. We could have done some of them today, but I don't want to do like halvesies. That's just, best to just do them all week 2, because then you could talk about who's getting eliminated and all that and kind of go bracket based almost. So that's going to wrap it up. James Harden, kind of just briefly going over that. We had TJ Warren and Lamar Stevens potentially signing with the Celtics, and then covering week 1 for FIBA. A lot of big games. Shout out to Carlik Jones, in my opinion, player of the week. Do you have a player of the week?
I'm going to go with the popular guy. I'm going to go with Luka, man.
Luka. That's a fair pick, man. Luka had an insane game, did what Luka always does.
Yeah.
It almost feels like Steph at this point where just like, I'm not even surprised anymore. It's like Luka probably should have the player of the week, especially because his team actually won. Carlik Jones' team lost, but dude, I'm so used to Luka going off like this. It's just like it's not the same.
I'm used to it, man. No, it's definitely great to see performances like that from different people. So
big game for Mo Wagner too. Happy to see him doing well. I hope he has a good year for the Magic. So
very much.
We'll get out of here after as far as that. As always, In the Moment Hoops will be in the description. Lots of new videos coming out every week for them. Just posted a new one with your friend. What was the video about? I'll put a card here. Bol Bol. Okay.
Yes.
I'll link a card here for that video. Go check that out. Leave a like, comment, subscribe over there. And here, if you guys like the content, please consider leaving a like, comment, and subscribe. And Yeah, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and that's going to wrap it up for episode 10 of the Culture Cast. Thank you all, and peace.